My name is Alex, and referring to what some of my opponent had said, that regarding racial profiling and how there's special parts of the bill that will try to prevent racial profiling. I've read some of that, and it says that they will judge those to check for identification with based on their clothing, based on if they seem like if they've traveled for a long time, and based on if their ability to speak English, like if they have poor English or if they're good English. And for the most part, over time, I'm sure it will be in the population of Arizona, for example, it will be Hispanics who fall underneath this, and I don't think that it will be very easy to prevent racial profiling at all because of this fact, because they'll if they see a pattern, they'll continue to search for those who tend to violate the or those who tend to be illegal immigrants. And it will cause racial profiling, and we can expect some of the outcomes of the bill based on past events and similar laws. The bill states that police officers will enforce immigration laws and investigate immigration status if the officer has reasonable suspicion, and this, as my partner had stated, is very vague, and even despite the conditions that are stated underneath the law, it's still very vague and does not have much of a guideline to it. And there's very little criteria of how to identify the immigrant other than the racial stereotypes. And because of the lack of specifics on how to identify an illegal immigrant, and the known issue of illegal immigration from Mexico and Central America, all Latinos will become targeted by this bill, and Hispanics will be synonymous with illegal immigrant. The bill parallels the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, which barred anyone of Chinese ethnicity, and not just Chinese nationality, from immigration to America. It's similar to SB 110, or 1070, sorry, because the Exclusion Act convicted anyone who transported Chinese immigrants of a misdemeanor. It convicted any Chinese immigrants who entered the U.S. of a misdemeanor and deported them. And it refused the Chinese of citizenship. And there are definitely disparities between these two laws, but the similarities are much more deeper and important than the differences. They both punish and fine immigrants, those who transport them, and they're both an attempt to racially profile and cut up foreigners from the country. The Chinese Exclusion Act carried on this racial divide for 61 years, fueling the anti-Chinese sentiment for many years. And from this, because of the similar circumstances of the two, SB 1070 may have the same effect as the Exclusion Act, labeling a certain ethnicity as perpetual foreigners, guests, and aliens who have no real right to be in America. My partner also stated that SB 1070 is unconstitutional and that it violates privileges, or it violates many conditions in the Constitution, including the Privileges and Immunity Clause, the Equal Protection Clause, and even the Arizona Constitution. The Privileges and Immunities Clause prevents states from infringing upon the right to travel, including the right to be treated as welcome visitors rather than an unfriendly alien when temporarily present in another state without a rational or compelling justification. And as is stated in Section 2 of SB 1070, the bill subjects those U.S. citizens who appear to a law enforcement officer possibly unlawfully present in the United States to investigation and detention if they don't present any identification documents proving their immigration status. SB 1070 thus interferes with the right of out-of-state citizens to travel freely through the state of Arizona without being stopped, interrogated, and detained. The Equal Protection Clause, which under the 14th Amendment states that no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. SB 1070 targets individuals who are racial and are minorities, including Latinos, residing or traveling in Arizona and subjects them to stops, detentions, questionings, and arrests because of their race or national origin. And this law discriminates against those of foreign descent and deprives them of equal protection of the law. The Arizona Constitution itself, in Article 2, Section 8, says that no person shall be disturbed in private affairs without authority of the law. And SB 1070 violates this because it requires officers to conduct investigatory stops without reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. Individuals may undergo warrantless arrest in the absence of probable cause. Also, SB 1070 carries this broad warrantless arrest authority to the context of an individual's home. Lastly, the economic burden of SB 1070 was brought up by our partner, and I'll further go over that. That if we repeal SB 1070, it'll help remedy what may become an unnecessary economic struggle in Arizona. As our partner stated, there will be increased costs for the lawsuits against the state and counties, and for the increase in jobs required to uphold the bill. Also, the loss of revenue from removal of these immigrants and the pressure of the boycott against the bill can be lessened if the bill is repealed. My opponent did mention that the cost of illegal immigrants, the cost of this bill outweighs the cost of, or it's pretty much, the cost of this bill is worth it in order to reduce the cost of illegal immigrants by removing them from the country. But according to AmericanProgress.org, and I quote, the Texas-based Perryman Group calculated that if all authorized immigrants were removed from Arizona, the state would lose $26.4 billion in economic activity, $11.7 billion in gross state product, and roughly 140,000 jobs. And these jobs are, some people argue that it's immigrants take American jobs, but these jobs are usually in unwanted areas. Also, regarding the boycotts, Phoenix Mayor Phil Gordon.
We got to cut you off because you're way over time.
Okay.